Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. It's me Gamerturk and it's time for our delayed weekly Alicization Q&A #AskGamerturk session. So welcome. Just a little notice before we begin. My journey so far ordinal scale video, I can't even speak, I'm so frustrated. Anyways, my journey so far ordinal scale video has been cancelled once again due to a copyright strike. If you're interested about the reason why or my thoughts on it, there's a 2-minute short video. The icon should be around there. If you click that, you'll see. But yeah, essentially that's it. So now we can begin with your questions. Now, just like last week, we have normal questions, we have opinion questions, and we have spoilery questions. Which spoilery questions I'll be pushing to the end of the video and feature a spoiler warning, of course, before we begin. Unlike last week, I did not answer every single question because I didn't want another 30-minute episode. I'm planning to keep this somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes to make it reasonable. A lot of you are asking stuff like, is this gonna happen? Is that gonna happen? You're literally asking me to tell you what happened, but you just need to wait 1 or 2 more episodes, so I am not going to be answering those kinds of questions, with one exception, but I'll get to that when I get to that. To clarify why I did that, the purpose of this Q&A session is to, explain things that I didn't get the chance to, or answer the questions you still have in your mind after watching the episode, after watching my Explain series, maybe after even reading the books. I don't want to just push out spoilers just for the sake of pushing out spoilers. That's not something I want to do, so that's why I filtered certain questions and ended up with a bunch, and hoping to finish those between 10 to 15 minutes, but we'll see. Let's start with the normal questions, shall we? First question by John NGNY. If Alice was taken as an apprentice knight 2 years after, wouldn't she still been a child? Since when the synthesis ritual occurs, life doesn't remain constant, so she shouldn't age. That is correct, but your life degrading, or rather in Alice's case, progression at 11 years old, it only stops when you're actually synthesized. The thing is, you get synthesized when you become an actual knight, not when you become an apprentice. So she was brought in 8 years ago, speaking relative to the time they were speaking on the ledge. So 8 years ago Alice was brought in, and it took them 2 years to turn her into an apprentice knight. And there's a reason for that. That's gonna be explained in some future episode really soon, 1 or 2 episodes at most. But she wasn't immediately synthesized when she became an apprentice knight. She became synthesized just 1 year ago, it should be, on the top of my mind. Again, this is an unscripted video, so I may not be exact with numbers and stuff, but it should be around 1 year ago. That's what Berkuli said in the previous episode, that she became synthesized and became an actual integrity knight. So that's when her life degrading stopped. And that's the reason why she hasn't aged. Next question. Santi Sanchez asks, since Eldri's sealed memory was his mother and Düsselbert's was his wife, is Alice's sealed memory Selka or something else? Now, Alice's situation is a little bit different than normal cases. This was actually hinted at in the Yugioh and Berkuli's dialogue, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe Kirito and Alice's dialogue in the previous episode, but it took 2 years for Alice to become an actual apprentice knight. So why did it take 2 years? We do not know yet, and I cannot tell you in these normal questions. But you will get to hear more about that in the next 1 or 2 episodes, just like the previous one. That's why I'm answering this question in the normal section. I'm just saying that her ritual is somewhat different, and you can't put it one-to-one to Eldri's or Düsselbert's case. Next question. Silver Shadow 0904. Yes, you were a good example with your spoiler warnings. Because they call him the hero Berkuli, and in the first episode they call this story Legends, just how long are Integrity Knights living? Is it the same case with the administrator keeping themselves alive for so long? Yes, Berkuli was alive, said to be alive for over 200 years. I think this was mentioned in the anime as well, but can't remember exactly. I know it's mentioned a lot of times in the books. Berkuli has been alive for over 200 years, and the length of Integrity Knight's life is... We have already heard about it when Chudelkin actually froze Berkuli down. they get sent to a certain maintenance from time to time to ensure their obedience, you know, the cleanliness of their memory, etc. And that's essentially how the Integrity Knights can live such long lives. It shouldn't be exactly the same as Quinella, because Quinella just sleeps to prevent that memory from accumulating. But yeah, essentially it's a similar thing. Glenn McSparran asks, how do you think Moon Cradle will be adapted concerning when and where it takes place? I could answer that spoilery. Actually, no, I cannot, because Moon Cradle was not even fan translated, so... But anyways, to answer your question, we do not know. Actually, it is reported that Moon Cradle is not gonna be adapted at all in the Alicization anime run, especially considering the second half of Alicization is called War of the Underworld, according to some promo logo footages from Aniplex Plus, if I remember correctly. So it seems like we are not getting the Moon Cradle adaptation. Maybe they'll make it an OVA, maybe they'll make it a separate movie or something, we do not know. Next question, David Super 1215 Song. Oh, that's a long text. So this one I've been having for a while, mostly after watching Taboo Index. How well exactly does Underworld transfer the feel of pain to the Fluctlights? We know the pain absorber slider from Alo that Kirito used against Oberon, so naturally, it's about, you know, how they feel pain. The thing is, while a more realistic simulation than the VRMMO games that we have seen in Sword Art Online so far, Underworld is still not a perfect one-to-one representation of real life. We have seen this with the... I actually answered this question as a reply as well, but I thought it was good enough to be featured in the Q&A video. We have seen similar things with the, you know, how exhaustion is handled in Underworld, how it affects you when you get too tired, when you exhaust yourself too much. It's not exactly the same. I think the anime skipped the getting tired bit twice. Once in episode 3, once in the episode that they were hanging from the wall. The thing is, for example, when you're exhausted, it doesn't really makes you feel tired or anything. You can still keep going at full power, unlike real life. When you get tired, you literally get less energy from your body. In Underworld, you can still keep going at full power, but the more you exhaust yourself, it's like a physical injury, so to say, so your life decreases. So it's one of those cases that showcases not a one-to-one adaptation. I don't think we have much about how pain is processed within a Fluctlight, but it's bound to be a similar case. Like, they probably just didn't program into the Fluctlights that after a certain amount of pain, you don't get blacked out, because they just simply didn't program it or anything. They still do feel the pain, very similar to real life, according to Kirito's thought processes in the books, but we don't know how the actual Fluctlights process that information. Next question is from Vichy. Is he gonna become an... I am not answering that question, because that's an is it or is it not kind of question, which I said, actually, we'll get to that in the spoilers, because that's the one exception I have made. But we'll get there when we get there. This question was included for the second question. Also, Alice seemed pretty mad about the statue monsters. Why didn't they just finish them off with a quick flash attack? I can still see them sitting in the corner. The thing is, those statues are... I actually explained this back in my explained video, if I'm not mistaken. Those statues activate based on proximity, so as long as they do not, you know, get close to them, they will not be activated and they won't be a threat. And considering they are on a ledge, they probably just don't want to take unnecessary risks. Next question by Jeff Marcus. Why didn't Yugioh stab Berkuli through the face or chest? He was just gonna kill him anyway. The thing is, ever since Yugioh realized that the Integrity Knight he was facing was actually Berkuli, his hero, he did not really want to kill him. He still wanted to reach to him, much like Kirito had reached other knights previously. The thing is, he doesn't really want to kill his childhood hero, you know? He looked up to Berkuli as an icon, and now he's facing him as the Integrity Knight right in front of him as his final obstacle. But again, what he's trying to do is save his childhood friend as well, so he doesn't really want to throw away part of his childhood for the other part of his childhood, so he's still trying to reach to him in these final moments. That's why he traps him, that's why he goes full force to have a final chat with him and let it be a gamble in general, hoping that he would survive if Berkuli doesn't come to his senses, but luckily it doesn't come to that. But that's it apparently for our normal questions. Yes, that is the last normal question that we have. The first opinion question is from Facebook. Spoilers, I deemed it not spoilery enough, so it's being included here. Do you think that more of the original game characters or the SAO Yugioh characters will show up in this season? We have actually seen Koharu and Zeliska back in episode 1 in the Yugioh scene. We have seen Itsuki's name on the leaderboards. We have also seen Fatal Bullet ads around. That was some universe breaking, fourth wall breaking stuff. But in the future, maybe, just a slight chance maybe, because after all these characters don't really know each other within the main canon universe, so I'm gonna go with a very slight chance. Next question by Jacob, our Green Lotus, that you will know if you're in our Discord server. What do you think of the god outfit designs? Don't look for the underworld god outfits, because that would be spoilers, but I can answer that without having too much spoilers. They're really cool actually. I pretty much like all the, you know, more outfit-like armor kind of things in SAO. They look really comfortable, they look really aesthetic, they look really nice, and they are nicely color-coded as well. I can't go more in depth to that because that is too close to spoilers. But yeah, I like the outfits. Sorry, kind of late to ask this, but for example, if Yugioh and Alice have thrown out of the cathedral tower and Kirito's still inside the tower, what would happen to them? I replied this as a comment as well, but I really like the question. It makes you speculate based on the characters' personalities, which wouldn't be very easy if you're just watching the anime, because in the anime Yugioh is more of a bumbling idiot who can't do much on his own except for when he's facing his childhood hero. But in this case, I'd say, you know, Yugioh really values Alice, but he is not really as creative as Kirito. He can't come up with stupid things. The thing is, Yugioh thinks like, if I try this, it's probably not gonna work. Kirito thinks, well, if I try this, this has a slight chance to work. And that's what Kirito banks on. Yugioh does not really bank on that, so he would go for the safe route, maybe use his perfect weapon control or even memory release recollection to freeze them at a certain floor, get them attached to the tower, and then make a plan and probably head down bit by bit. At least they would try somehow, maybe via more risky moves. But they would certainly decide to go down instead of trying to go up, in my opinion. And eventually, maybe, just a slight chance, Yugioh may have been able to get to Alice by using, you know, Selka's name, because that would definitely come up during their descent back to the first floor. But he wouldn't, if he wouldn't be able to get to Alice, he would be just put back to prison again. Because in my opinion, he wouldn't really have a chance against Alice in such a fight, simply because he wouldn't really be able to go that hard on Alice in the first place in a one-to-one fight without Kirito's push there. As for what would happen if Kirito was still inside the tower, I feel like Berkuli would have gotten him because, you know, Yugioh essentially just traps him into the pool. Kirito does not really have that option. It's a one-to-one fight to the end where they just keep fighting without anybody getting entrapped or something. But again, this comment solely relates to the first half of Alicization. So take that answer as a small, not totally complete. And welcome back to the spoiler section. Here is your spoiler warning. Why am I saying welcome back? Because apparently my recording got corrupted midway through the spoiler sections. So here I am one day after, with decent light conditions, recording that again. I have a more cheerful attitude today because it's been more than a day since I received that fucking copyright claim. Sorry, strike. So let's move on with the spoiler questions. Chudelkin said that there was another half to the time-piercing sword. I assume that's the release recollection phase of the divine weapon. If the sword in enhanced armament mode slices the future and in its normal form it slices the present, then in release recollection is slicing the past. And to add to that question, so does Dedi Berkuli ever use his release recollection, and if so, what does it exactly do? Well, the answer to that first question is yes, you are correct. The answer to the second question posed by Scrambled is, please refer to question 1. In volume 20 Moon Cradle, Kirito gave Tease the Blue Rose Sword, but in volume 18, when Kirito dived into the underworld for the third time, he had the Blue Rose Sword. How did he get the sword back? The thing is, us Westerners do not really have any idea as to what really happens in Moon Cradle. Defan has not yet translated it. I don't think he's planning on translating it. I think he's just coming up with a summary of it because he's moving on to volume 21 Unitil Ring. So we literally don't have any translations to read. Even fan translations do not exist. And Defan does not clearly remember this case. He said he will need to check back, and that is exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna check back later. How did Yugioh become Integrity Knight so fast? He should become apprentice first to learn all those high level spells. That is one of those exceptions I did. That is the main exception I did for a question that says, is this gonna happen? Because it's not really a is this gonna happen question, but rather, how does this happen? Obviously this person has the knowledge that it happens, and how it happens I'm answering because it's a little bit different than your regular synthesis ritual. The synthesis ritual takes a long time to isolate the memories, then pull those memories out without hurting the subject, and then injecting the piety module to gain the obedience of the knight. The thing is, Quinella does not really bother with isolating and taking out the memories of Yugioh, because surprisingly, Yugioh does already have a gigantic hole in his mind that the piety module can fit into. That's the main reason why his synthesis ritual takes quite a low amount of time. And the thing with Yugioh is he is already very skilled. Like, much like Eldri, he is a very proficient swordsman already. He is quite proficient in terms of sacred arts, not very high level, but quite proficient. And he is just pushed out to utilize his skills buffed by increased stats, that is object control authority and system control authority, as well as his self-confidence and different thoughts that were injected to him, and that's how he becomes an Integrity Knight so fast. But of course there's a downside to this fastened progress, and we will get to see that in around episode 21 or 22. Did a part of Yugioh's soul still remain in the Blue Rose Sword when he died, and that's why he helped Kirito against Subtilizer? Well, you could have asked that question without actually those very future spoilers, because that is already hinted at in Volume 15 Alicization Invading. So let me be very specific. Yugioh's soul is not in Blue Rose Sword. His Fluctlight, his soul is completely erased from the system. Yugioh does no longer exist. However, when he fused with the Blue Rose Sword, part of his memory fused with the Blue Rose Sword as well. Much like a sword, exactly how like a sword has the memory to unleash the enhanced armament control as well as release recollection. When they fused, part of Yugioh's memory became part of Blue Rose Sword as well. So essentially, it's like a memory fragment being inside the sword and reacting to certain things. Will Kirito return with the Black Wing coat of SAO and Aincrad in Alicization? Yes, he will quite soon actually. Do we ever get to see Düsselbert using memory release for his Divine Bow? Now, since I haven't read past Volume 15 yet, I cannot answer that question. Again, I asked to Valgraf of... God damn it, not Valgraf, Valgaf of SAO Wikia, my bad, when memes take over. I asked him for his answer because Kotori, the Polish translation, is quite far ahead than the English one. He has read the events. As far as he remembers, no, we will not get to see the full memory release. No, we won't get to see the real Phoenix, but part of it we have already seen in his enhanced armament form when the Phoenix appears. But the full real form, no. As far as he remembers, that is. He doesn't remember much aside from Kirito and Asuna moments. Why does the seal of the right eye exist? The answer is simple, to prevent the Underworldians, anybody who lives in Underworld, literally all the Underworldians, from breaking established rules. However, the reason I am answering this in the spoiler section is because it is not really implemented by the regular Wrath staff. Like, Kikoka or Higa is not really aware of the eye seal preventing people from breaking the law. Like, that's a really extreme measure that keeps the Underworldians in check even when they want to break the rules. Like, according to Higa and Kikoka's explanation back in episode 5 or 6, they literally said they don't even think about breaking the rules. And that is what the seal achieved without their knowledge. Because if they want to break the rules, the seal just stops them, you know, it hurts, I'm not gonna think about this. But we will learn more about the seal of the right eye in the future anyways, so that's as far as I'm gonna go. Next question. Why does Kirito become an empty shell after the Quinella fight and pretty much lose all sense of life? That's gonna be explained in the second half of the season, probably early on, like second or third episode maybe fourth, I don't know. We don't know the pacing of the second half, it's gonna be weird. But it's one of those explanations that I don't really agree with. Not that I don't agree with it, more like I can't really get behind. Volume 15 has been by far my least favorite Alicization novel I have read, mainly because from Volume 9 to Volume 14, you know, even the sci-fi aspects of things, even incarnation was something tangible. It felt like hard magic. It was pretty solid with pretty nicely established rules and limitations. With Volume 15, it acts like whatever the plot needs it to act like. And, well, I would be perfectly fine with the explanation of Kirito becoming an empty shell if his brain was just fried during the power surge back in the real world, the Ocean Turtle, due to an event that's gonna happen at the very end of the season. But no, that was not the case. Apparently it was something like an effect of incarnation. I don't want to say anti-incarnation because it's still incarnation, but a negative effect of it. The thing is, at that moment, Kirito was blaming himself for everything, for the entire journey, for still being trapped in Underworld, for the deaths of various Fluctlights that he really cared about. So his mental state was really unstable, all those dark thoughts, blaming himself. And when the power surge came in, it amplified, apparently it amplified, this is Higa's explanation by the way, it amplified those feelings, and those feelings took over and essentially destroyed Kirito's sense of life in that case. That's pretty much what happened. I feel like it could have been better explained, I feel like there could have been a better reason for this, but that's what we have. But apparently that's the last question, really? Alright, I guess we are done here. Hope you enjoyed this Q&A video. And I'll see you guys Saturday probably. I actually have some other plans since the ordinal scale video is currently shelved because of the fucking copyright strikes. But I will announce when I have something to announce. I have plans for the upcoming 2 weeks. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay cool, and I'll see you for now Saturday, maybe even earlier. I'm also doing live streams, so come join me, guys. Take care.